Supervision Guidelines. Again, I've talked about them and talked about them and talked about them. We've talked about them in training. We've talked about them in Facebook Live. I've talked about them in our newsletters. It's just that they are so important. You must have supervision guidelines in your office to comply with Section 32 of the Property and Stock Agents Act. It sets out the requirements for a licensee to properly supervise the business that is being carried on within that agency. Okay, it sets out non-exhaustive but specific requirements that need to be done. Now, when we break it down, those 10 specific requirements is that it needs to talk about the role of the licensee in charge, and that comes back to the type of license they hold. So whether there's restrictions, whether they've got where they can sell businesses, whether they have a strata license, whether they have stock and station so they can sell over 20 hectares of land, all of those sorts of things are dealt with in the role of the licensee in charge of that agency. There's the preparation of operational procedures. So you need to have a policy and procedures manual. You must have procedures for operating and managing trust accounts. If you don't have trust accounts, that's a really easy section to say, we don't have trust accounts. Super easy. The fourth requirement is about obtaining identification. So for fraud prevention purposes, obviously it's getting the identification of anyone with whom you enter into an agency agreement, vendor, buyer, seller, purchaser. If it's a buyer's agency agreement or a landlord. You need to have procedures for the communication channels with clients. So who are you talking to? If you've got 3 people on the agency agreement as the owners of the property, then which one is giving you instructions? Or is it all 3 or 2 or 5 or whatever it happens to be? You have to have, obviously, if you're a selling agency, if you're selling property, then you need to have accurate representation in relation to selling price of property. Now, if it's residential property, obviously there's the underquoting guidelines. But you have to have accurate representation. It doesn't matter what you are selling. So that needs to be there if you are selling any type of property. You need to have a procedure for the management of customer complaints. That's not new. We've had to have that for years. The appropriate supervision of employees, how you are making sure that everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing, they're saying what they're supposed to be saying, they're doing their CPD points in the right frames. You need to maintain a gifts and benefits register, and you need to have appropriate maintenance of all of your records. Now, that's great, and, a lot of people have, upped their game in the last probably 12 months and got themselves supervision guidelines, and obviously, again, we can help you with that. Give us a yellow look at the front page of our website, it's all there. But the one thing I really wanted to raise this for is I've heard on 2 occasions now of people who have purchased agencies. So they've bought into an agency and they've just taken on the supervision guidelines that the agency had prior to that. They haven't changed any of the processes. They haven't changed even within the document the name of the agency when they've changed the business name or the trading name. Very close to home, we're informed of somebody who'd sold their business, and the people who bought it had just gone with the previous supervision guidelines. They've ended up with a $2,200 fine because they hadn't changed. They hadn't even bothered to change the name of the agency, which they have changed, the business name, the ACN, how they operate, who the licensee in charge is, different license categories held by the 2 different licensees in charge. So they copped a fine for that. They also got a few other warnings on different things, but you don't need to do that. It's such an easy process to address those 10 very simple issues. Again, if you've got questions about that, give us a call. Anyone who picks up the phone here, any one of our fabulous team will be able to help you with those issues.